The Senate heard closing arguments for impeachment. A vote is now set for Wednesday at 2 p.m. our time. Just before wrapping up the arguments, here's what Adam Schiff had to say.
Every single vote, even a single vote by a single member, can change the course of history. It is said that a single man or woman of courage makes a majority. Is there one among you who will say enough?
So the Republican-controlled Senate, as you know, opted not to call witnesses in the trial. Analysts say the president will almost certainly be acquitted in this case. So one test of what comes next will be Tuesday, as President Trump delivers his State of the Union address in the chamber that just impeached him just last year. So sitting behind him, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who of course is behind that, and according to her spokesman says hasn't spoken with the president since October. So it might be a little awkward in there.
It might be. We'll have to watch for that for sure. Well, right now, folks in Iowa are kicking off the caucus and primary season as Democrats try to pick a candidate to take on President Trump in the 2020 election. A lot of eyes right now on Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, who were doing very, very well earlier today. So the winner tonight will have a lot of movement going into the New Hampshire primary. Now, if you look back since 1972 on years there wasn't an incumbent running, 56% of Republican and Democratic winners in Iowa have gone on to be their party's nominee. And those numbers are even higher for Democrats. 67% have gone on to be the nominee. So how exactly do the caucuses work? Well, CNN's Tom Foreman explains from the Hawkeye State.
Caucus time in sites like this all over the state, people will gather who are eager to help pick the Democratic nominee for president. And this is how they will do it. Different areas will be designated for supporters of each candidate, and the voters will physically walk to those areas to indicate their preference. This is the first vote. Once everyone has settled, they are counted, and each candidate's percentage of the vote is calculated. Now, the math will vary depending on the size of the caucus, but in larger ones such as this, if any candidate gets less than 15% of the overall crowd, he or she is declared unviable and effectively knocked out of the running for that caucus. But the people who chose that candidate can still be in play because each caucus goer will receive a card like this. Now, take a closer look. On the front, they will list their first choice. If that candidate is pushed out, then those voters can flip the card over and make their second choice. Now, this frequently comes amid a good deal of discussion and wrangling and talk with people in the other groups because in the final vote, those people whose candidates are unviable can move their support to a viable candidate, or they can combine with others like them to create another viable candidate. A couple of quick points, though. If your candidate is viable from the start, meaning he or she has at least 15% of the overall vote, the voters who selected that candidate cannot change. They are stuck with their first choice. And if your candidate is unviable, you do not have to realign. You can simply go away if you want to. In any event, after the final vote, everyone will be counted again. The cards will be collected to create a physical record of how many people stood for each candidate on each vote, and then through a series of mathematical calculations, all those people at all those caucuses all over the state will be turned into a delegate count. Some candidate will get more delegates than everyone else and will likely declare him or herself the winner of the Iowa caucuses.
Tom, thanks for breaking that down. Now it makes a little bit more sense, right? Well, here in Utah, we will vote in primaries as part of Super Tuesday on March 3rd with 15 other states. Now, we've reposted our explainer about how to make sure you'll get a primary ballot this year. You can find that right here on the KSL-TV app under the KSL Plus tab.